So welcome to our first episode of Drones Downunder Podcast. I've got myself, Sean Mathis, and welcome my colleagues, Ty Tamberlin, waving there, thank you. Danny El-Assad, he's easy to identify with the Red Bull hat. We've got Brandon Gillen as well. Welcome, lads. So we're actually all commercial drone operators, and it's our full-time job. And I guess the four of us decided to start this podcast because we want to grow the awareness of the Australian drone industry and its place in the world. Most of the podcasts, I'm sure, like the rest of us, tend to be US or European based, not many Australian based podcasts, and certainly not much around CASA, so the Civil Aviation Safety Authority. And I guess we'll talk through who they are and how they interact in our worlds throughout the podcast series. You've probably come across the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, which is US. And that's probably where most of your learning have come through. Even though it's similar, there are quite a few differences. I guess we love to teach new operators as well as the general public to know more about how to operate drones in a safe manner according to the rules and regulations of Australia. We'll use this platform to involve others from the industry to share their journey and story with us and our audience. So I think just let's say hello to the guys. So welcome, guys. First episode.
Game on, guys.
Exciting.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
So we're obviously all quite busy. We're all very passionate to try and share our stories, share our journey, challenges, and it's going to be an exciting few episodes, I think, over the next few weeks, and we look forward to bringing that to you. So I want to get started. Today is all about sharing our journey and our story. So I'd like to welcome Danny, if you could spend a few minutes talking about your journey to here. That'll be awesome.
I'll try to make it as interesting as possible and make it a bit longer than the 2 minutes I practiced.
Sounds good.
All right. So gents, you guys know me through the drone industry. I started with drones in 2017. Been a chef for 15 years. I kind of was getting over the trade and, bought my first Mavic, which is kind of up here somewhere, right there. Good old Faithful up there. Bought my first drone thinking I could do everything. Turns out very quickly, I realized we can't. There's licensing, there's legalities behind, doing stuff with drones. But, back in those days, I thought I could. So started my Instagram page. Between working as a chef and doing drone jobs and building Instagram, just taking pretty photos on my days off. Pretty much went from there, working between the two jobs, and managed to actually pick up a fair bit of commercial work doing real estate work. Going from working in the kitchen and working real estate work kind of was pretty heavy. There's a lot of hours involved, especially being a head chef. You do 70, 80 hours a week. And then on your days off flying drones, it takes it out of you. So after the work actually started building up, I kind of dropped the chef jobs and started flying drones full time. From there, I got picked up by the company I work for right now called Hoverscape, and worked my way kind of through the ranks. We've been doing a lot of, we started with the creative work and worked our way into doing a lot more photogrammetry and 3D models. Then ever since then, I've just been building my experience, meeting new people along with you lovely gentlemen. And it's just been many years of, just building my experience and learning the trade in and out. Obviously we had to get licensed and, you get your different accreditations to actually, grow in the industry. And I guess here we are. It's probably a little bit more than 2 minutes, I'd like to hope.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, Danny.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much my story up to today. We started as a chef and here we are.
So where do you think your focus is over the next sort of 6 to 12 months? your own journey?
Definitely focusing on the photogrammetry side of things and the digital twins, 3D modeling. It's a ridiculously quick growing industry right now, and the quality of these models are just going through the roof. Hopefully we can just adapt more and get more into the industry and build on it.
I think it'd be awesome once you can share some of those with us all, and it'd be pretty good to kind of explain how that all works.
Definitely.
Definitely. Where are you based, Danny?
I'm based in Sydney, Australia.
Very
Easy.
good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, guys. Did I hit that time yet?
Cool. Awesome. So now, Ty, love to hear from you and your story and how that beard got so long.
Funnily nothing enough. Well, it's sort of a bit to do with work, I guess. You get too busy and then you get too lazy to cut it. But as far as my journey goes, I've been a photographer for the last 13 years, running my own business. I got into drones about 2015. Same thing as you, Danny, real estate. The company I contracted for, we were still using a really dodgy pole setup, which I was explaining to Sean the other day. And I just went, screw this, I'm going to buy a drone because I'm going to get a lot more work with this. And that was the approach I took. And yes, it definitely did get a lot more work for a while there. But obviously, as you know, it's, not quite that simple as well. But that's where it all started with me. And moved on from there. A good friend of mine actually started Aerospace Australia. He was out of the Defence Force in air traffic control and a pilot as well, but as far as in Defence Force, air traffic control. And this was his, I guess, out of Defence Force plan to set up the company, and with all his aviation knowledge and things, to set it up and create this drone company. And his direction was pretty broad at that point. But he got me on board because my hours and flight time was much larger than his at the time. And I was essentially an asset to him. And we started from doing everything from just simple real estate photos still again, doing stuff with, we did a bit of work with Birdie and the Borrell quarries, doing automated flights and capturing photogrammetry data to get all their volumetrics and stuff, which was where we started to get into things a little bit more interesting. And then Ben decided that he was he'd had enough of the drone industry. He decided that he wasn't keen to do it anymore, and that's where the lovely Sean and Kate came on board and purchased the company. And I've actually never been so excited to drop my own job and jump back into the employment world, if I have to be honest. Because the stuff that we're doing now and it's just insane. I mean, same thing you, Danny, doing the photogrammetry stuff and the 3D modeling and things like that has blown my mind. I did a lot of interior 3D modeling and stuff for a while using Matterport systems and things like that, and that blew my mind when that came around. And then once I've seen all the external digital twins now we can do with drones and things like that, it's just mind blowing. But I think it's also just a very exciting industry to be involved with. I mean, we've all discussed this in thorough that, really, as much as drones have been around for a while now and everyone knows what they are, the industry is really on the cusp of, pardon the pun, but taking off. There's so many things now that are happening in the drone world, from deliveries to all the stuff that we're doing, agricultural uses, defense uses. It's almost endless, the possibilities of where we can go with this. And we're at a point now where we're finally getting an opportunity to test all these things and see if they actually are real world applications. And that, to me, is just super exciting. In any avenue of the industry, I really genuinely find it very exciting. And I get to fly around essentially the cool toys as a job. Like, you can't really argue with that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to see where it's all going anyway. So that's pretty much how I got from point A to B.
Do you think some of your skills from your photography side are going to be useful?
Oh, 100%. Look, end of the day, and we've discussed this, Sean, and there's a lot of people that have drone skills that may not have photography skills, and vice versa. And I do think they play a part in the industry. Not everything is just essentially clicking a button and it just works. Having all the knowledge of overexposing, underexposing apertures and shutter speeds and ISOs and all that kind of stuff that you learn from the photography industry, that what you have to learn. Having the ability to apply that into the drone industry is still not many people can do that. I've encountered that a lot as a problem along the way with other drone pilots I've worked with through the years, that they don't have that skill set. So it's definitely something that's valuable to me and to the jobs I do as well.
Yeah, it'll be really cool to kind of see you sharing some of those skills. I think, as we've all talked about, when people get in the air and fly a drone, just understanding some of those prereqs in taking a photo, I think is
100%. I think that's, everyone's got stuff to learn from the industry anyway, but I think having those skills under your belt, regardless of what you're doing within the industry, I think the only things that wouldn't apply to delivery systems and things like that, but virtually everything else within the industry, those photography skills do come into play, which is definitely something I'm happy to share with people and expand their knowledge base.
Cool.
Right on.
And for future reference too, I'm based in the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, so I'm up in the north.
That's why you're smiling more than some of us.
Yeah, it's never been a better time to be a Queenslander.
The only time to be a good Queenslander.
Maybe it could be a good Q&A for social media. Guess where we're from.
Take a screenshot.
Cool. Thanks, Ty. Brendan, let's hear your journey, sir.
Okay. All right. So my journey started when I was in high school, all the way back in 2011. I bought my first drone and pretty much started from there. Just dabbling in the space during high school in my system engineering class and pulling it apart and just doing modifications to it. And then, as you all do, you come to the end of year 12 and you have to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, of course. And I was not going to uni, so I decided I wanted to become an electrician. And that's where I was for probably about 10 years. So I worked in the construction industry for the last 10 years, qualified A-grade electrician. And then once I finished that, I sort of was still playing around with drones just for fun, flying them here and there, and went off and bought a Mavic 2 Pro, or Mavic Pro at the time. And basically got to the point with my electrical career where I wasn't overly excited to do it anymore. And so I basically packed up, went to Europe for 4 months and traveled around Europe, tried to become famous on YouTube and whatnot and created travel videos and everything. And turns out it's pretty hard to do that. Didn't really go to plan.
Shouldn't we?
Some of those videos look pretty good. Yeah.
I think we should.
For somebody who didn't know what they were doing, Brendan, they definitely made me jealous when I saw them.
Yeah, I think we should take the opportunity to show at least one of them today, Brendan.
Okay, all right. Yeah, fair enough. Well, if anyone wants to go and have a look at them, I've still got them on YouTube under an account called Walkabout Aussie. So go check it out if you really want to have some travel videos. But yeah, I went all the way around Europe, did all the Nordic countries and everything like that. So yeah, it was good fun. And I got back, expecting that someone will pick me up and I'll be traveling the world, still making these videos. And it's not quite the way it all unfolds. So I went back into the trade industry for a couple of years, and it still wasn't quite there. I wasn't excited about going to work, and then I started a drone operations company and basically built up from there. And from there, I sort of shifted from drones, and now I'm more the way I see it is that I call ourselves as like a data acquisition specialists. So collecting information around physical assets or structures or buildings, whatever it might be, and understanding how to collect that information in a way to be able to digitize it, do inspections, whatever else. So not just drones, but a whole other suite of other things that we can probably dive into more in the future. But yeah, now, obviously doing that full time, and it's pretty exciting. And like Ty said, I think the space we're in is only going to get bigger and better, and it's really exciting to see where everyone is at the moment in the industry. And I guess hopefully this platform will allow us to sort of educate a lot of people in this space, and we can sort of showcase it. They're not just toys, and they're very useful tools within the industry, and to a lot of different industries as well. So yeah, that's what I'm pretty excited about with this podcast, about what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think when people call it toys, I'm sure we can all agree they're expensive toys if they are toys.
Yeah, very.
It's one of those things. All my friends and family, they literally think I fly toys around for a living. They are so wrong. But I just play into it because I'm sick of arguing about it. So yes, I fly toys.
And all your friends and family think we're flying toys all day. Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Adds to the fun.
Let them think that it's that simple and we're living the dream.
Hey, Brendan, what was your favorite place to drone around Europe?
Oh, favorite place. The favorite place to drone and fly drones around Europe was Iceland, hands down. Nice. Yeah, that was the best. I spent 2 weeks driving and camping around Iceland, so I drove around the whole country there.
That's definitely makes me jealous. That's on my bucket list.
I'm out now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's super expensive. Like I bought a cup of soup, a bottle of water, and a sandwich, and it cost me 57 Australian dollars.
Damn.
So it's like on the 40 over here.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't worry, mate. I paid $47 for a club sandwich in Tokyo, so don't feel too bad.
Gold-plated sandwich, or
no, but it was amazing, but definitely not worth $47.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think second would be Switzerland. Iceland and Switzerland were probably the
as far
two
as
best.
Expensive. Or
both.
Oh,
most expensive and probably the best
expensive.
places to travel. So yeah, probably the two favorite videos that I've made as well. So I think they're pretty aesthetic to look at as a country, very different to what we experience here in Australia. So yeah, it was pretty good.
And we'll have to chuck a few of those videos up on the socials at some point.
Yeah, why not? I wouldn't say no.
Who knows? You might get picked up this time.
That's right. Yeah.
Might pull off the photographer dream. I think it's quite funny you say that, Brendan. I reckon every single photographer I worked with, trained with, everything through their entire careers, everyone at some point goes, I'm going to be a travel photographer.
Yeah,
like I spent 2 months traveling around through Europe, and all I did was shooting. Not for any particular reason, just for shooting, for the hell of it, to come home and plug it out there. Yeah, I'm going to get picked up for travel. Yeah, it's definitely an empty dream for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
You think how many accounts are on Instagram around the world, and all of them are trying to do the same thing? Pretty much?
I literally only know of one who's pulled it off. It was a good friend of mine. It was a photo of some goats at like Machu Picchu or something like that. It got picked up by a couple of travel companies. That image ended up earning him 56 grand over an extended period of time. It's the only one I know who's pulled it off.
That's nuts.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Pretty
I
good
think
for one image, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember when I was on a bus going between one country to another, and as I was getting off, I walked past a girl watching my Iceland video. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Did you go up to her and say, that's mine?
No, I didn't. I was like, I'll just leave it. It was a good experience. It was pretty cool to see.
Awesome.
So
that's
awesome.
Awesome.
It was quite funny.
No, Danny would have done it for sure. He would have gone up.
Do you want my autograph?
Danny would have given her a list of all his socials. Follow this, follow that, follow this, follow that.
100%. Who else is going to follow the socials? That's
and
my
a
job.
free Red Bull hat too. You take this.
One day. That's the goal.
If you pull it off, Danny, I'll be so impressed.
As soon as we do, they're sponsoring the podcast. I'll put a little thing up here saying not sponsored by Red Bull.
Cool. And where are you, Brendan, located?
Victoria.
Cool.
Yes.
You're smiling way too much.
The exciting
Stop smiling.
state of Australia at the moment, where everyone wants to be.
Yeah.
So I hear. Here's Ty, the biggest smile still on his face. I'm the furthest from it.
It still brings me so much joy. Although I do feel for everyone, Dan. I've got a lot of friends and family in Victoria, and I do know a lot of them are struggling a fair bit with all this. So it's it's crappy, but it is what it is. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm just lucky I'm in Queensland.
Keep rubbing that in.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Salt in the wounds.
Since
Yeah,
borders
absolutely.
are closed, Ty, really good.
Yeah, well, look, I'd rather the borders be open at the moment because I'd really like your help. So,
Cool. Thanks,
Mhm.
Brendan. Okay, my journey's been very much creative through high school, and went into TAFE, I guess, to do photography. And I was showing Danny a little bit earlier, but this is my camera, I think about 32 years ago. It's an EOS 300. Still so proud I still have it, which is pretty cool.
I still
And,
have mine.
And for those youngsters, that's called film.
What is in the back of that camera? That's not a
it's
screen.
film. What's over
It's an
there?
inferior objects.
Yeah, so it obviously still works, and it's still part of the rest of the gear that's sitting over there. Yeah, so I always had a real keenness for photography and drawing. That's my, since I was a kid. However, being a kid of a migrant, decided to be an engineer. So went and got my degree in digital systems and majored in robotics, and decided a few years, maybe about 3 years now, that I wanted to come back into the creative side of the world. So I've been spending a lot of times over the last 20 plus years in software development, in telecommunications, obviously working quite deeply into software and through the 90s, and then going into running fairly large projects and programs across a number of different countries, and then being in sales for about 10, 12 years at least. And I think I'm finally home. So I'm kind of glad to be going back into this. And I guess before I got into drones, I thought about three and a half years ago, I thought, real estate videos and photography would be my retirement plan, and doing.
How wrong you were.
It could be my sales technique, so let's not worry about that one. So yeah, I very quickly, looked at drones, and obviously was aware of drones, but when I was looking at there's cameras, as I'm sure like the rest of you guys. So that didn't make me excited to fly a drone around. It was only, I think, once people were starting putting GoPros and things on it that you kind of go, oh, cool, that's a good use for it. So, so probably the early Mavics and then into the early Phantoms when I got involved, but not a whole lot other than just from the photography side of things. So essentially when we started, it was all photography, ground-based stuff, video photography type things, and then looked at drones. So probably the last couple of years. And then as Ty called out in his journey, we acquired Air Inspect a little over 12 months ago, and obviously keen to kind of grow that in both Victoria and Queensland. So that's what we're about. But for us, it's all about working with the industry like yourselves. We're really, really happy that there's a bunch of people that actually do want to work together, want to see the industry growing, want to actually keep challenging what we're doing, and looking at great partnerships. So that's what we're really about. And I
think that's something fairly unique too. I think I've discussed this with you before, Sean, how one of those things I found in the photography industry when I started out was that everyone was very guarded. It was quite hard to work out what you should be doing as a business, and no one was willing to help. No one wants to share how they got there or the methods they used or anything like that. Everyone was so guarded. And I think with the drone industry, if people do the same, the industry will never develop. Look, I ended up finding people obviously within the photography industry that I could do that with, but they were very limited. But to have where we're all, yes, Sean and I work together, but we're still from different spaces, and you guys are from different spaces, and we can show you that it's obviously it's everyone doesn't have to hide from each other. We can go out there and work together and create this industry boom that we want to create. So I think it's great that we work together.
Do you think it's us as a nation that tends to be closed off? Because obviously we're all watching videos on other countries, but there's very few that do it from an Australian perspective.
I think it's probably per capita, if I have to be frank. There's enough people in the bigger countries that there's enough people to share something, I guess. I'm not sure whether it's just isolated to Australia, but it's just definitely something I've noticed within the photography industry, and there's other industries as well that it's very similar. I just think it's very one-sided and naive to think that you can do it all on your own. I think everyone needs each other to build this industry. We can't just go, okay, I've got all the answers, I'm going to go and do this. Like, it doesn't work that way.
No, I definitely agree. So that's very much it. I'm looking forward to be really honest, I'm really happy where I'm at. Obviously, as challenging as it is, as I'm sure you're all aware, it's great to be at the cusp of something really big, and we can actually help shape that, which is quite exciting. And there's obviously many more like ourselves that are keen to sort of come onto this platform and share their stories. So it's going to be a really exciting few weeks, I think, for all of us to keep sort of growing what we're doing. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. I think what we're doing is probably the best part. And like you said, Ty, I think we're all working together. There's so much to learn within this space. It's just going to be, it's too hard to just do it on your own. And I think it makes sense to work with one another instead of trying to undercut everybody just to learn your trade or learn the skill and potentially fail at it. So yeah, it's going to be exciting times ahead.
Especially the way the world is with the, or at least Australia is with all the lockdowns and everyone's in different states. It's the only way we get interstate jobs done.
Right.
Not at the moment.
Yeah. And I think as well, utilizing people around the state or around Australia, you personally, like me, I wouldn't have to go to Sydney and worry about how to travel around Sydney and do all that sort of stuff. We use the network, we utilize local people and understand the areas, and it just makes sense. Yeah. It's a win-win for everybody, and exactly. It's a win-win. Why not do it? It always makes sense.
I think in the current day and age too, everyone's really about supporting local, not even just necessarily Australia, but local areas as well. So, even if, for example, you picked up a job up in Queensland, but you're not going to be up here to do it, but then you can still recommend someone up here that you trust to go and do your thing. And having that within the industry is just, it's paramount to its survival. Like you said, we all can't do this on our own. We all have different skill sets, different things we learned along the way. And the more we combine those things, the richer the industry is. It's a no-brainer for me. It really is.
Cool. Awesome. So that's our story. So hopefully, I'm sure we'll go into more detail over the next few podcast episodes as we sort of. What's that?
I'll try.
Yeah, I know Danny's been wanting to share one of his recipes, but we're going to hold that. We're going to keep you guys
totally
all
said he wasn't going to bring it up.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, Danny. I'm not asking for an episode.
Mate,
live.
You can cook good Mexican from what I hear, so we definitely need some recipes.
One day, when the border's open.
We'll dedicate a whole episode to Danny cooking live for us. Awesome.
God.
All right, gents. Our next segment. So we've got a a question that you guys aren't aware of, and I guess let's chat about what your thoughts are. So this is my question for this week. The Australian drone industry is saturated. There are no jobs. So this is obviously, I'm sure, like the rest of you, you kind of see this in socials, where I think most people's perception, certainly not guys in the industry, but probably more the consumer side, feel, photos and video tend to be very much what the drone industry is about. And I think part of our job, using this platform, is to kind of share what some of the things that we don't seem to talk about as an industry, unless you're involved in it. So yeah, I wanted to put that out to you guys and get your views on that. So,
well, essentially, I agree with you there, Sean. Like, that's where the people pull the saturation is in the photography and video side of things. And look, an element of that is kind of true in a sense. It's not. I don't believe it's saturated as much as there's a lot of uneducated in the value of what they do, that are still essentially beginners in the industry, and they want to jump in, they want to get involved. That's where I believe the saturation there's people's perception of saturation would come from, because like you said, all you got to do is look on socials, look on community boards and things like that, and all the people essentially fighting when someone some aerial shots or something. I see it a lot up here. But I don't believe the statement is correct, though. I think the industry itself has so much of a wide reach that it's definitely not saturated. It's just saturated essentially in a certain space. And like you said, that's people's perception that all we do is take photos and videos and stuff. And that's completely incorrect. But we are seeing the industry starting to grow, but I definitely don't think it's saturated. What do you guys think, especially in a different space to where I am up here? Sunshine Coast is essentially like a regional town, so it's never a surprise when anything's saturated up here. But you guys are in bigger cities, so I'd love to hear your end of it.
I think the Sydney side of it, as pretty much as you stated, the kind of creative side, it is saturated, because anyone with a camera or a drone, we all start there. We all jump in, we're like, we can do anything. Yeah. But trying to get past that part of you can do anything, have a niche market, something you actually work on, and you grow your skills in, not just, hey, here's a photo, flog it for X amount of dollars. Go beyond that. We take thousands of photos of one item, essentially. We turn that into something, but it takes time to grow and work past that, beyond social media, beyond, you've got to learn it. You've got to learn the industry.
Yeah, it's education by far. Like
100%.
We've all experienced this within the industry, where we're trying to bring this technology to people, and there's so many use cases, and we can bring it in front of them, and they all sit there and look at you like, but what are you doing with it? They just don't understand what we're producing and how it can be used. I think that's a massive part of it.
Oh, definitely.
So sure. Can we talk a little bit about, other than photos and videos, what are some of the jobs that we're actually doing as an industry or as an operator? So the people who are listening to this, wondering what are we actually doing?
Yeah.
Can we talk about some of those?
Taking lots of photos.
Yeah, it's essentially what it is. I think, we're taking lots of photos, but we're also manipulating that information into 3D models, ortho mosaics, whatever else it might be. So, you got your real estate and everything like that, photos and videos.
What's an ortho mosaic?
An ortho mosaic is an ultra high resolution map that's created through a series of photos that you take with the drone. So essentially, Google Maps on steroids is a good way to put it. Depending on what you want, you can zoom into a 50 mil core hole on a concrete floor on a construction site and be able to measure it. Well, it's like, I don't know, I think the four of us all know exactly what the other use cases are. But I think there's heaps of industries that aren't utilizing drones in a way that they should be and getting the most value out of it. And I think construction, facility management, inspections now starting to ramp up and sort of get the understanding of, I can actually get a photo right in front of the problem without sending someone over the edge of a building or whatever it might be. But again, I still think
it's funny. Sorry, Brendan. I was driving in here right next to our office, and there was easily a 70-meter high crane boom looking over something. They weren't working on anything. It was just two guys sitting in a canopy or whatever it was. And you're going, there's a perfect photo moment just to share with the audience, going, you can reduce that risk, right? The human risk.
But again, I think that's the education part that we keep talking about. Is people do not grasp it. Like, I mean, for us, it's quite simple. It's like, you're putting someone in a dangerous position. Why would you do that? We can do this in a shorter amount of time in a cost-effective way. But they don't understand that. But I think there's also the part of the industry where we're looking at stuff like search and rescue and things like that, which are just people are starting to understand it now and the value of it. It's definitely something. Education is a big part of it.
And I think as well with the push from even the government perspective is from a smart city perspective, as well within construction, and that sort of industry is requiring to have some form of digital footprint of anything that we're building now, whether it's just a simple BIM, but the space of us being able to create digital representations of what's being built, capture every point or every stage along the construction phase, and have documentation. Maybe some builders don't want the documentation because some people out there just don't do the right thing, but at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, you'd rather have a photo or high resolution map of something at that point in time to reference back to and go, no, not our fault. It's picture tells 1,000 words.
Exactly.
So
it's the same information for, whether it be the foreman, the worker, or the chairman of the board or whatever. They're all going to see the exact same bit of information. You can't alter it.
All right. Yeah. And look, I think it will create a little bit more honesty through some industries as well. If I know some requirements on construction are requesting drone flyovers and ortho mosaics now as part of the tendering process. So the construction industry is the one that's going to benefit the most out of this. They just got to catch up and sort of get out of the dinosaur age of where they are now, and understand that it's not just a documentation to catch them out that they're doing something wrong. That information can go between 5 or 6 different areas within one project, and it can benefit a lot of people and save a lot of time and money. So
I think the evolution is there as well, and this gets talked about in every industry. Dinosaurs, I guess, is the best way to put them. I know in construction, some of the stuff I've dealt with, they're the old guys. They do things the old way. They've got the approach, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the more you educate them what we're capable of doing, and I think with, I guess, a younger generation, not necessarily young, but a younger generation popping into the industry, they are now looking at tools where they can save time, make things safe. And that's kind of where we said we're right at the cusp of this explosion that's going to happen once people take it on board, which I think they're starting to.
So we talked a little bit about obviously construction, Brendan, that you just raised then. What would be some of the jobs? Obviously, say agriculture. Can we talk about some of those roles? Because obviously there's people that are doing a remote pilot license on REPL, thinking they're going to be the next best photographer or travel photographer, whatever we want to think it is, because that's what we know, right? The things we're talking about, there aren't any scripted jobs. You can't go to Seek or any other, whatever the job network is, and find people with these skills. They're very limited, as we all know. Can we talk about what maybe 2 or 3 of these types of roles would look like to help people in out there listening to us?
What do you mean by roles?
Well,
like as the operator?
As the operator. So if you're going into a construction site, where would we use a drone? Or if you're going into agriculture, where would you use a drone? So if you're doing an asset inspection, why is a drone useful? I like to define what some of these jobs would look like so people can actually start to relate and think about what their license would be used for.
I think it will come down to a couple of things, but where you're located. So I think if you're in a major city, you would be asset inspections, construction, and everything like that. If you're in a rural area that has farms and whatever, agriculture is probably your game and you should dominate it. I don't think there's too many, well, from my opinion, I don't think there is too many people out there really dominating that space that I've seen. There might be, and I just don't know about them. But if I was up, in between Echuca and Melbourne, Shepparton or somewhere like that, I would be going to every single farmer with talking about multispectral cameras, understanding your vegetation health, crop spraying, things like that. I would be trying and dominating that space and just being in there and being in people's faces about the technology, because when we talk about dinosaurs, farmers are farmers, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but trying to bring technology to people to
we might have just lost all our farming.
Everything's gone. I just stuffed it up. But
well, look,
it does
end of the day,
take people.
My mother's a cattle farmer, and I've they're a good example. I've tried to push them into technology for a long time. I mean, they're mostly out of the space now. But for a simple thing of a digital tagging system that they had for all their cattle, they spent about 10 grand on this thing. And I had set up a computer for them, organized them to do it. They had this all in front of them. Guess what? Never used it. It sat there and collected dust. And I tried so hard to teach them otherwise. But again, dinosaurs in the industry, they just don't want to change things. So it's definitely something that's a bit of an issue.
That's where we also wrap back to, would you rather teach somebody else how to do it when they might only learn little bits and bobs of it, or would you rather get a professional out to do something, whether it be a digital tagging system or a asset inspection of some sort?
And I think I think Danny, you're right. Like, there's a fine line between bringing someone in and doing it yourself. And I think if we take agriculture for an example, I have no network in agriculture. And for me to rock up to farmers and say, hey, you should be doing this, 9 times out of 10, I know what they're going to tell me. So I think, it might start with the son of the farmer or the daughter of the farmer going, holy shit, why is dad getting on a quad bike to look at all the fences once a week when I could set up a pre-flight with one drone that would do it in half the time, and we got video footage of every single fence line we've got on our property. It does it all autonomously. You can do it. All you have to do is probably turn the bloody thing on and press start. To me, that's for us. That's where the value comes in when using drones and whatnot. And then you can go into more specifics. Try and get something easy across the line that they see. Oh, I don't have to get up and drive my quad bike to every single fence. I might only have to just drive the quad bike to where I need to fix the fence. So it's there's heaps of spaces.
And that's when we circle back to saying, is the industry saturated, or is there actually a lot of work out there? Just you've got to find it.
I reckon that's 100%. I maintain that, and that's where the education side of it comes in, because I constantly stare at a lot of things, and you can see the application we can use this for drones and on how we can potentially solve a problem. And so many people don't think about that. They really don't. Farmers is a really good example of that, Brendan. So it really is. It's the more we educate people, and especially stuff like what we're doing with this podcast, to let people know that the work is out there. You just got to build your skill set, understand the people you're trying to get on board and solve their problems. And once you do that, the rest, the possibilities are endless. It's just thinking about it a little bit.
And it's how you support a industry that might be a bit hard to get into at the start. Introducing and exposing them to it is the hardest part, and then with exposing people to it, you're educating them at the same time. Because when I left my electrical job, I thought construction was my ticket. And I was like, construction's the biggest value. It's got the best value. I know it's going to take off. And that was like 5 years ago. and I'm still not doing regular construction updates. Like, it blows my mind that no one is just doing a basic mapping of a site from a project management perspective. Because if you can get a timestamp of your site every week or fortnight or once a month, whatever it is, there's some form of documentation of what your site looked at that time. It's always a point of reference. And you can send that off to the people that are paying you to build your bloody building. And then they get an update. They don't just get a couple of nice looking photos or a video. It's something more tangible of, hey, this is what your site looks like on a weekly, fortnightly, whatever it is. And then you can upsell, and you go into the 3D models, and then you go into the surveying area where you bring in other people and do your quantifying and your measurements and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, it's a great point you just raised. If we just look back for those of us who've been in New South Wales and Victoria with the recent earthquake, I mean, you've got potential insurance claims where you may not have a record of what that condition of your asset is, whether it's a building, a warehouse, a house, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Had you actually gone through a process of actually documenting that asset, you're going to be in a much better position.
You had a digital twin, 2 weeks ago, then came back and did one obviously now after the earthquake. You could tell where every single deviation is in the whole property.
Yeah, 100%.
But everyone's gonna be gearing up now for the next one. Time to upsell, boys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly right.
Let's do this.
Yeah,
it's only a matter of time.
So we're using words like digital twin. We also talked about BIM. We'll obviously keep uncovering what these words are through the podcast. So
listen on to find out what this means.
I think that's something too for the listeners. I think if you have questions that you don't understand or that you want more knowledge on, I mean, definitely get in touch with us on socials. Let us know. We're happy to explain more facets of the industry that you guys don't understand or you've had no experience with. That's kind of the point of what we're doing. So I think that's something important too. If people have questions, get them to us. We're happy to answer them.
Yeah, for sure.
So we might learn of a new industry use case that we didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's constantly changing. We know this. So, I constantly hear where people are looking at new avenues where taking drones. Like I spoke to a guy up in North Queensland who they spent the time doing research and development to do confined space drones. They built them from scratch, and these things get into the tiniest of spaces and do the job that no one can get in to do. So, as I said, I mean, where we are at the moment, it's wild and it's really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah. I think you got to find your niche, because I'm sure everyone will find out throughout the podcast is that we can sit here and talk about all the use cases that drones can fulfill, or some form of collecting photos or videos. But it really comes down to is what you're interested in, why you think drones are going to be valuable, and then going from there. It's not an easy process to try and convince people to use technology. It's hard, and there is a massive knowledge gap and education process that you have to take your clients on. And even if your first client's your family member, is getting them to understand where they're at now, where they could be, and what else it could bring and lead to, not just, hey, we should do drones because it's really cool. Because I hear a lot of people just say that because maybe they don't quite understand the value that they're bringing to their customer. That's the most important part, is figuring out what your value is from the interest that you have from this industry, and then somehow reverse engineering that to showcase to people that this is why you should be using drones and why you should choose me to do it. So, and
I think you raised a valid point there, Brendan. Like, it's 5 years with construction they've been working through. You got to be patient. You got to be, as the technology evolves, as our understanding of the different software and hardware evolves, how we can use it. I think you can't just think the first customer you're going to chat to. It's no different to any other creative that we've all worked with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
everything good takes time, and unfortunately, the downside for us in this industry is just that: it's the education. So many people don't understand what we can do, what the potential use cases are. The more that happens, the more our industry grows. And I think we're going to be on the forefront of doing that and educating people in Australia, because, like we said, there's not many resources outside of the US for beginners and professionals within the industry to learn more.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to bring to the table. We want to educate. We want our industry to grow.
Yeah. And I think also bringing people that are within our industry or support our industry to the podcast and talking to them as well. So I think that's the really exciting part. Is Australia is a small market, but it's an exciting market, and there's got some pretty cool people doing some pretty unique things. And I think we all four of us are all doing overlapping things, but very different things at the same time, which is exciting. And we all bring a different value or perspective to the industry, not just taking photos or videos. I think that gets me excited.
No, most definitely. Dummy of the week.
Why did Ty disappear?
Wow, look at that.
Oh, it's safety time.
It's safety time. All right. So
For our listeners, Ty is now wearing a hard hat.
Yes, this is making me safe.
That wasn't edited in, right, Danny?
No, that was there. Right, so like dummy of the week, it's more to that resources we've found on the internet and other places that sometimes it may be unsafe. It might just be someone's done something really silly. It could just be one of those situations that it's worth discussing within the industry, because a lot of people don't understand some of these things, and if we can again share and educate, the better it is. So I have a little video to share, and we're going to have a discussion about. Let's get that up. Okay, so what you guys are seeing now is a coffee delivery via drone. So I believe this was down in New South Wales. Canberra, there you go. So there has been drone deliveries in place, and you'll notice the crow coming to have a stab at the drone. It's one of those things I always talk about is birds and the problems that they pose. And this is a perfect example of that. So you see, he almost came back for another dig as well.
Pay for his own damn coffee.
Is that a coffee or a milkshake?
Yeah, you get coffee. I don't know how much coffee's left inside. So yeah, over to you guys. I want to have a bit of a discussion about it, get your views on the drone delivery space, and obviously the lack of visual line of sight and everything like that. I don't know whether they thought about the bird problem or not, but just to get a bit of a perspective on it and share that with our listeners about how this could be potentially mitigated. The problem that is obvious in this one is the bird. But yeah, just have a bit of discussion about it.
Straight off the bat, spring is not the best season to be flying around drones in general. I think honestly about 90% of the jobs I've done this spring already I've had to deal with a crow or a magpie or a plover of some sort. That's been before you get to the whole drone delivery part.
And that's with you actually watching the drone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let alone these drones that are doing the deliveries, they're flying roughly a couple of kilometers from their HQ, well beyond visual line of sight. They've obviously got the right permits for that. There's a lot of issues with that, including birds.
Do you think, Danny, that this space is going to work as everyone's hoping it will?
No, I can only see
why is that?
specific corridor. Well, airspace is massive. Like if you take, say, hypothetically, just take Sydney Harbour, it's a restricted airspace because there's already so much air traffic there. So if you live next to it, even just a small airport right now, what's to say that your drone is going to be able to fly straight over that airport with your coffee? There's going to be a lot of, don't get me wrong, it probably will eventually happen, but there's a lot more than just, hey, I need my coffee delivery from A to B.
Yeah.
There's a lot in between that, is the drone going to fly through other airspace? Is there another drone doing a real estate video that's going to fly past that, is a sub 2 kilo operator that no one knows is there?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know they have some limitations at the moment on where they can use them. I know I heard of another case, a hardware store actually. They've taken the drone delivery on board for the fact of delivering nails, tools, etc. to building sites, rather than the tradie having to come out to go when they run out of nails, come back into the hardware, waste time going to grab that and going back. They were limited to a 1.5 K radius of the shop. I didn't know that bit. I mean, I can see the upsides of it as well. Like obviously the drone delivery system in theory is a great idea, but like you were saying, the lack of visual line of sight, you don't know who else is in the air. It'd be interesting to have someone that's in this space actually come and have a chat about it, because I don't think our knowledge is super great on all this. But the things I noticed from that, they probably thought a little bit about potential bird problems and things because of due to the amount of props that are on the damn thing. I think that's the only reason that it didn't come out of the sky when that crow got right into the tail of it.
If that was a quadcopter, it's gone.
Yeah.
A phantom or a Mavic or anything like that, that's gone. That is on the ground in 1,000 pieces. It's painful. I mean, I've had some close calls where you're out doing a job and you have that bird that just won't leave you alone. They quite often don't generally go in and actually have a dig, but it is a concern. I mean, it's so unsafe. If something drops out of the sky and there's someone underneath there or whatever, that's a huge problem. And I think that's probably, in my view, the biggest issue with the drone delivery system is the lack of visual line of sight and the lack of being able to act quickly in a bad situation.
This could be a good idea for the next guest to come on. If anyone knows anyone that's in the visual line of sight or extended visual line of sight, hit us up via our socials, which we'll put in the comment sections and whatnot.
Sure.
It'd be really cool to actually get some actual industry insights.
I do believe
about opinion. This is all just our opinions right now and what we know.
Yeah, 100%. I do believe, from what I remember, obviously they're doing that in Canberra. There was some deliveries going on in New South Wales. I know they were testing up here in Queensland and Logan. I believe pizza deliveries, which they were also doing in New Zealand, the Domino's as well. They were delivering pizzas via drone. I haven't heard too much more since they announced they were doing it. I don't know what the success was with it, whether they've decided to keep going with it and keep trialing it or just can it all together. But it would be really interesting to get someone in that space in here to have a chat, because I'd love to learn more about it and the concept of what they're working with to make it safe and practical.
Yeah, I was thinking if you're just doing deliveries to us in metro areas, where there's coffees, I personally don't see the gain right now, but as we all know, the remote communities, whether you need medicines or vaccines, there's a number of countries clearly like us that are quite spread out in territory wise. The costs are high, obviously, when you use planes, but there's probably ways to kind of reduce some of that where there's absolute essentials that people can't get to, certainly when it's something that needs to be done urgently. So I think if we can find safe ways to achieve that, I think that's great. But for me to get my coffee, because it's convenient to me and the risks are so high today without real true governance in airspace, God,
in the modern day and age, mate, we all live for convenience.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could walk out front right now and get my coffee, I'd be so happy.
But I think you're right, Sean, on the use cases there. I think when you look at, a good example is funnily enough Melbourne, Victoria at the moment. With you guys all in lockdown, there is obviously cases where there will be people who need medical attention quickly or need medication quickly and things like that. That is a great use case for it. I agree with you. The coffee, the pizzas, the random little edible objects you can get delivered. I mean, they're kind of pointless for what they are. They're just purely a lazy convenience thing. I don't believe it's safe, but again, I'm not in that space, so I don't actually understand how they're making it safe essentially to do so.
And what about, so like, I guess where my mind goes as well is drones isn't just UAVs. Drones are robotics as well. So would you guys think the drone space, not from a UAV perspective, but potentially, going down the path of what Tesla autonomous driving and things like that, they might come into like an Uber space where it's drone delivery via their cars or little robots or something like that?
There's a company over in San Diego, I think. Veritasium did a video on them a couple of weeks back, and they're purely autonomous. You essentially Uber, go on your Uber app or whatever it is and call up your taxi, and it rocks up, no one in the car. You sit in the back. And it was an awesome video. Go check it out. And he went across town by himself, just sitting there. That's one of the concepts for it.
The autonomous is wild. I've seen a guy driving a Tesla S on the highway reading his paper while he's driving down the highway. Totally illegal, but it's
why not?
It is where everything is going. We are heading towards an autonomous world in that regard. So, I'm not surprised that drone delivery is becoming a thing, but it's the question over how safe it actually genuinely is for everybody else around in those flight paths.
As you look at it, it's still early days. Like, as we're saying, construction, Ben's been in for 5+ years. How much has that changed? And how long have we been doing drone deliveries? Like,
I think it's about 2 years that they've been testing between New Zealand. I only know in Australia and New Zealand. I mean, I'm not sure as far as overseas goes, but I think it's about 2 years now. And they still haven't officially launched it. So they're definitely obviously having problems that they need to mitigate and work out how to fix these things. But again, like, that's why I'd really love to talk to someone in this space to get a better idea of how they're tackling this.
For sure. Because Amazon announced a couple of years ago as well that they were going into the drone space, and
that's been very quiet.
There's been absolutely no news come out of that. No, out of all people, businesses, companies, I thought Amazon would have been pretty quick.
I believe
to the
they
market.
are testing. I do believe they are still testing, but they're doing a lot quieter than a lot of the other companies that
they're going to space before they're doing deliveries.
Yeah, well, honestly, look at the bigger picture here. If you were Jeff Bezos, do you want to worry about delivering coffee, or do you want to jump in a spaceship?
Yeah,
I know which one I'm jumping on.
See you later.
Let's go hang out with the aliens for a while. See what they've got to chat about.
Yeah, interesting space.
It is. And we're only just at the beginning of it. Episode 1, guys. Wait for the next one.
I know.
That's it. Cool. That was certainly an awesome video to start with. Obviously, like we said, we're all excited to get our coffees delivered. Certainly on the crow or whatever bird it is attacking it. So yeah.
I don't want my coffee to get there, so I'll still go for a traditional route at the moment.
Can you imagine if they're standing under that drone when the bird attacked and the coffee's just hopped open, still hot? There's a whole other kettle of fish.
So many problems with it.
I think like Danny, called out, anyone in the space doing it involved would be awesome to kind of have you part of it and talk 100%. Through some of the challenges and where you're at.
I've got one person in mind. We definitely got to hit them up.
Okay, awesome.
I like the way you work, Danny.
Network.
Cool. So that's our. Don't know so who's the dummy there? Was it the bird or the drone?
Well, I actually think it's the bird, to be honest. I mean, the drone, we know our potential issues with it, but obviously they're testing, they're doing it, so they must be fairly moving forward with it. But the bird, I've never understood birds attacking drones. They're loud, they're noisy, and essentially to them, they will chop them up. So I just don't know why they attack them. I really don't. That's actually something that it would be worth looking at in the drone space is how to deter birds from drones, really, because I'm yet to see a drone deter a bird properly anyway.
I've put little faces on all my drones, but that doesn't scare them off. Anything been a loud object, they'd fly away. But
I think the bigger drones are a threat. The bigger drones that they're not going to, like, I don't see a crow coming in to have a stab at an M300 or an M600.
I had a bird go us last week using our big drone. They kept coming.
Really?
Yep.
Did they actually have a swipe, or they just?
there's a few times where I can see the bird's eye in the photos.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I stand corrected then.
Oh, gentlemen,
Jesus.
fun times.
Awesome.
All right. Great episode. I think that was good. Good start.
That was very good. So I can just wrap up wise. I think we'll obviously share our contact details. Love to hear any topics that you want us to talk about. Anyone you want to be involved and get involved in and share your story, reach out.
Sean, where can everybody find us?
Great question, Danny, and I'm sure you're going to add it in somewhere in one of these comment things, right?
Yes, there'll be
Oh,
these
well,
little
somewhere
things
here
on
or
your
somewhere-
It'll be on our YouTube, but we are Drones Down Under. You look us up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm sure we'll link all our own social medias across that so everyone can find us. Share friends and family as well. Yeah, Drones Down Under, guys.
Awesome.
Definitely
one out of
fire
the way.
questions, people. We really want to hear from people, whether it's in the industry, whether it's just interested in the industry. The more questions we can answer for people and try and give them the information that they're looking for, we're more than happy to do so. So please fire questions, please.
Absolutely. Don't do it on your own.
Give us content. Fire questions.
Yeah,
Awesome.
like we said at the start, our objective is to make sure we work together. We continue to work together with other operators and other people in the industry, whether it's software, hardware, and bring awareness to this industry in Australia. And that's our objective. It's very simple. It's very candid. So we look forward to bringing you more content. Thank you, guys.
Right on, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Wrap it up.
Thanks,
Speak
guys.
soon.
Catch you guys next week. Have a good one.
Speak soon.